This is a very special meeting for me because I get to thank all of you for having had the opportunity to serve as your president. And in particular, I would like the board members, I know some are probably downstairs, but if the board, please stand up. I'd like to thank you guys for all the help you've given me over the last 2.5 years. And with that, it's just my extreme pleasure. It's my extreme pleasure to introduce to you.
All right, come up, give Don a applause.
It's my extreme pleasure to bring up Ed Silver, our new president. And Ed, I'm going to it's pleasurable to give you the gavel that you could take on all the new endeavors that we will have. I get the pleasure of taking off my president badge and going back to Don Weisenstein, South Jersey Men's Club, past president badge. So I'm back to where I was before I started, and congratulations, we're in great hands. Thanks so much.
There's actually a story behind this gavel that I'd like to share with you. When my father passed away and my brother and I were dividing up the estate, we found this gavel because he was very active in a number of organizations where he was in charge. I took it, and then I made a donation to the men's club several years ago, and now the gavel is back to me. So. Before we start, I just want a minute before we start breakfast. I'd like all the past presidents to stand. Rich and the other past presidents. Gentlemen, without these men, I don't know if this organization could have been maintained and sustained. They've done quite a bit. And guys, when I take over this position, starting now, I'm going to need all the help I can get. I recall in the Hebrew Bible.
Wait a minute. Larry hasn't over here yet.
Yeah, Larry.
He's coming. He's coming. Right here.
I recall in the Hebrew Bible when God called Abraham, Abraham answered with the words, "I am here."
Hineni.
Hineni. Guys, I'm going to need to call upon you often. I'm not God. But if you're willing to be available to me, I'd like you to answer with the words, "I am here." Please.
We are here.
We are here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a seat. For the board members, could you please stand? I don't know how many of the men in this organization recognize how much work you do and how much time you devote to the organization, but I'm going to need your support and help during the coming year. And if you're willing to do that help for me and for the men in the organization, would you please say, "I am here"?
I am here.
Thank you. For the rest of you, you don't have to stand, but for everybody else who is not a board member or a president, could you please raise your hand? I don't know what leader can lead without men to follow. The military says you can't push a string, so I want to lead, but I'm going to need you to follow. And that means hold me accountable, give me your suggestions, your criticisms. But in the words of an old AZA advisor that I had years ago, you get out of an organization what you put into it. And I'm going to ask you to put more into it, because if Jews don't serve Jews, who will? Okay, thank you. Now, do we have any guests or new members? Dick?
Yes, over here. Gary Kodesh, while you're doing
Three of them right here.
Okay. Gentlemen, if you could, just give me a word or two about who you are and what you're looking for in joining a men's club.
Oh, my name is Albert Kaiser, and I was a member of the men's club, the JCC Men's Club, and since they canceled that, we were transferred over.
Okay. What are you looking for in joining a club?
Friendship, whatever.
Okay, with a call for your support as well. Who else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Gary Cody, and I'm not too active in many groups, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to get out and meet some of my fellow people in the community.
Welcome aboard.
To find somebody to do a 50-50.
Yeah, well, I volunteered. I said, "Do you need any help?" And I was here early, and they said, "You want it?" Fine. So.
It sounds like you are here.
Seconds, I got
And you, sir?
My name is Joe Moore, and I'm here to answer your question, which is that Jews don't serve Jews, who will? I'm a Christian pastor, but I'm here to serve the Jewish community because it's important. And far too many Christian churches have forgotten what we owe the Jewish community and the Jewish people, and we're here to serve.
Welcome. It's our tradition for new guests and members to lead us in the prayer for the Motzi, but I'm going to break tradition. My first job as your new president, I'm going to lead you. So if you'll join me, please. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed your breakfast. We're going to get started. I understand there is another new guest or member here. Dick?
Jack? We have Jack, Jack over. Jack, you want to get up and tell us everything about yourself?
And Jack, also, what's the attraction of a men's club? What brings you?
I like to roll up. Where the hell is it?
He's not joining. How much you pay you to say that?
I've been in South Jersey since 1988. Previously in Boston, I had a physician, medical oncologist, hematologist. Then started up Cooper, then Penn. Met two shoulders that needed to be replaced. Mike's next. And so I'm on the retirement side. So glad to be here, delighted to be part of the group. I'm part of the JCC board, been on the board for the past 6 years. I was sort of slitting in the retirement side of the JCC board.
Very good. Welcome. Just as a reminder, although we didn't get much of a donation today, we do collect books, CD music, food for the Jewish community, Jewish Family Service, and toiletries for the military and for a woman's shelter. So there's only a few books over there now, but you're invited to help yourself. But next meeting, I hope we get more donations. Oh, cell phones and eyeglasses as well. Again, if Jews don't help Jews, who will? Membership, Dick, do you have anything you want to contribute shortly?
Boy, what a turnout. Anybody count? How many we got?
52.
Fantastic. That's almost a near record. What do you like in the Super Bowl? No, that's something
Short.
short. Yeah. Look, there was a meeting. First of all, anybody need an application for anybody else? Anybody? No? You don't meet people around that are Jewish or pretend to be? Let me know if you do. Plenty of applications. There was a meeting of I'll make this short, meeting of the membership committee, Jerry Feldman, Steve Barsky, Sam Korth, Fred Berman, Mike Perloff, and Jerry Reebstein. Jerry, are you here? Jerry Reebstein? Not here? He's on vacation, okay. Anyway, we had a good meeting. Bob and Jerry are going to get together and talk about membership retention. You want to say anything now? No. Okay, good. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I leave you out? That was intentional. No, Bob Greenberg's on. We have a nice little group. There's a number of things we want to accomplish, and my job is to delegate it all. And I guess that's pretty much it. I have a few other things, but we'll let it go to them.
Yeah, we're up, I think, to 95 or 96. We had 2 new people pay this morning, or past members. So we're moving toward that 100 number again.
Thank you, Ed. Len, in a few words, I'd like to announce that one of our members has finished his third novel in a trilogy. And in a few words, could you just explain a little bit about the book?
Unaccustomed as I am to speaking, the trilogy starts with the Chernoff family back in 1882 and runs to 1948. It covers a variety of history, and this third one, which finishes the story, uncovers stuff that most people never knew about, that I certainly never knew about in history. The book focuses, one of the focuses is on anti-Semitism. And I just read in the paper this past week that during the Second World War, the Virgin Islands was suggested as a home for Jews. And I never knew that, and I wish I had. Because what my research found was that a man named Breckinridge Long, whom most people have never heard about, was a man who was in charge of issuing visas, could have saved 150,000 Jews, and chose not to because he believed that within those Jews might be a communist or a Nazi. And it's very, very similar parallels to what's going on today, in a way. So I uncovered people like Breckinridge Long, and I discovered that the president of the Red Cross during this time opened up a camp in Switzerland so children could come there from the war and feel safe. But Jewish children were not involved. Jewish children were not permitted. I discovered that Austria received millions and millions of dollars because they considered themselves an overrun country. You would not believe what went on during the Second World War. And of course, there was this wonderful quote from Laura Delano, who was Franklin's cousin, who said, 20,000 adorable Jewish children become 20,000 ugly adults. So 20,000 children were kept out of the country. There is so much that went on. It is incredible that what we don't know. So this book explores, is a family story, and each one of the children, there are 7 of them, are involved in a particular part of history, and a lot of history is revealed. So when it comes out, it's called Old and Full of Days. It's the last line in the book of Job. The first book is called Consider My Servant, which is is the opening line of the book of Job. So that's what it is. It'll be out hopefully within a month or so, and perhaps some of you will read it. I know there are a couple of people here who have read the first 2 novels, and I appreciate that very, very much. And each novel is separate. You don't have to read each one in succession, but that does help. But they all stand on their own. So thank you very, very much.
Len, will there be a movie coming out? Will there be a movie coming out? Bob, could you discuss a little bit about your involvement this morning with Super Sunday food?
As you know, this is Super Sunday. We had a group this morning here at approximately 8 o'clock. Dennis Satinoff, who could not be with us, was the one who picked up the bagels and brought them in. We had a crew downstairs. As usual, bagels weren't sliced. So we took our lives in our hands and we gave our guys knives. And we had them slicing bagels. Now, actually, the whole thing, from the time we started, which was give or take about 8:15, we were out by 9 o'clock. We were all up here. It was a fantastic effort. Now, we're going to need people to help set up for the lunch, which is going to follow this meeting. How many people can I depend on to be downstairs? Okay. After approximately 11:30, we'll need to be down there. It shouldn't take more than, at best, 15 minutes. okay? Because the only thing we're going to be putting out is we're going to be putting out egg salad and tuna fish salad. On a, shall we say, a sadder note, the donations for food this year were way down, okay? Way down. So, thank you all for those who are in first thing in the morning and those who will help out this afternoon. What, Mike?
Last year, we needed, a few people have had to stay to help out it for almost another hour, so if anybody can, that might be the need again.
Probably won't need it this year because they don't have that much food.
Thank you, Bob. You know, in terms of people, Jews serving Jews, Bob Greenberg, as a president, could have easily lowered his energy and his efforts toward this club and to the Jewish community, and instead, he is here. When there's something to be done, Bob is available, and he does it well. He organizes, he delegates. I really appreciate the effort that he puts into the men's club. Which reminds me, we had a few people that not only serve the food downstairs, but serve the food up here. Rich Moskowitz every week buys and goes to a lot of trouble to get the food here, so does Dick Knopf. Jay, where are you? Jay was helping today slice the lox and the onions and everything else, so I appreciate your help. Dave Schwartz, is there going to be any discussion about the Man of the Year? You want to do any of that? No? Okay. Mike, law enforcement?
Two things. The law enforcement breakfast. For those of you that are unfamiliar with it, once again and quickly, for about 20 years, I guess it is, we've been having an annual law enforcement breakfast that includes the police chief associations and municipalities from Burlington, Gloucester, sometimes Salem, and Camden counties. Also, the people who attend are like FBI, state police, sheriffs, marshals, on and on and on. And it's our show. We do it. And this program is going to be on April 5th, which is a Tuesday, and it'll be across the street at Temple Emmanuel. And we'll need all sorts of volunteers needed to help. We do everything from A to Z. I'll move on from that and to say that it's too soon really to have you sign up, so by the next meeting we'll have people sign up exactly how they can help. The person in charge of anything to do with food is Rich Moskowitz. Person in charge of anything to do with the room and the room setup is Bob Greenberg. Person in charge of anything to do with the finances in any way, shape, or form is Ed Stein. And I'm just overall. Now, moving on from there and connected with that is a new program that we're going to be doing that the board approved. It's called Toys for Tears. It's been around since 2009, but nobody's heard of it. Basically, first responders, usually police, have stuffed animals that they'll keep in their car, in the trunk usually, in a bag. And when they have to go to a family and there's little kids, and the little kids could be upset, little kids might be a distraction, they'll give them one of these new stuffed animals. Well, we have a way of getting them by the hundreds. The board has approved an expenditure of a certain amount of money. And to find out what kind of interest there may be, we ended up having emails go through the 3 county chiefs associations that this was a probable thing to happen and how many departments may want to participate. Almost in a blink of an eye, we got requests for about 100 bears, stuffed animals. So that's good. Now, you can imagine there's a bit of work to be done, but this is one of these programs. It's nice, it's compact, it's short, sweet, simple, beginning, middle, and end. It starts now, and it stops at the law breakfast on Tuesday, April 5th. And we have 2 men who agreed to be co-chairs, and that's Rob Sachs and Joel Greenwald. Guys, would you stand up for a moment, please? They will be needing assistance, so see them, all right? And it's not a whole lot of work. It's just they know the whole thing from A to Z on this. And we will be looking for some more funds, because it looks like instead of the couple hundred that we thought we'd need, it may be 400 or 500. But that's a good thing. Yes,
Are you taking donations of gently used beers, or you're only?
only brand new.
Brand new.
Brand spanking new. That's it? Thank you.
Thank you. And here's another example of I am here. 2 members who volunteered to participate and help out. Again, this is what we're looking for from the membership. Thank you. As an aside, I made a stop at one of the dollar stores, and they may be willing to donate new little stuffed bears. If you have any opportunity to stop in any of the stores in your neighborhood and identify yourself as a South Jersey member, wear your shirt perhaps. The store I visited said they might need something on a letterhead, so I'm hopeful that we can actually print up something on a letterhead. But let me invite you to see if you can get donations of, it has to be brand new stuffed bears, it can't be used. Okay. Dave Wynn, did you want to make that discussion on the soul? Oh, there you are.
We may be hearing about our usual baseball outing, and we're thinking of going to the Trenton Thunder instead of the Camden River Sharks. And I figured if we have one sports event, why not have another? And I'm in the process of trying to get a group to go to the Philadelphia Soul. As you all know, Philadelphia is the home of the losing teams. The Soul, however, breaks that mold. They play arena football, which is a different kind of football, and I still don't know the rules. I watch some of those games and I wonder what the hell's going on. But it's a lot of fun. It's a high-scoring game. And the arena football team at least made it to the final, the championship game. Just as a sidelight, I had a wedding in Cleveland last August. And on the plane going to Cleveland was the entire Cleveland arena football team, which had just lost the game to the Soul for the right to play for the finals. But anyway, we have, I know somebody that works for the Soul, and he has given me some prices for groups to go. And he also told me that one game is Jewish Heritage Day. So I've selected that day. Basically, it's on Sunday, April 17th. It's at 4 o'clock at the Wells Fargo Center. We're looking to get a group of at least 10. It could be you, your wives, your kids, I don't care how many. But as long as we have at least 10, then I can get a group rate tickets. And if you care for kosher food, there will be kosher food there, as well as the usual chazarah that you have at ball games. So I have a sign-up list here. Please sign up. If you are a new member and I don't have your contact information and you want to go, please give me your contact information, at least your email address, also your phone. So where it says paid and so forth, give me that information. If you're a current member and we have your records, once I have it in here, I'll be able to get hold of you. So I'm going to be sending this around, and hopefully we get a good group attending from this club. They had 7 different price ranges. I picked the middle price range, which is $27, which I figured was reasonable enough for this group. The highest price was way up in the stratosphere, and the lowest price probably would be the end zone all the way up there. So it'd be somewhere in the middling type seats. $27 a ticket. It's on the form here, but I was asked to mention it, and I think it's a good point.
Thank you, Dave. You know, when we talk about you get out of the club what you put into it, we're just more than just a monthly meeting. And this is a program idea that would hopefully create more interest in the club. But if you have other ideas about program, I'm going to send an email out with my phone number working home. Dave Swartz is in charge of programming, is available. As part of being here, let's get your ideas about programming, because that's what maintains and sustains a program. And did you notice the last 2 people, Mike and Dave, they were former presidents. They could have easily dropped out, put less energy in, and yet they're still very, very active in the program. Thank you. Passover Partners, did you guys want to talk about Rich? Or
What's it?
Passover Partners?
Oh, yeah, Barry's not here today.
You want
Barry Adler and I, oh. Barry Adler and I we're the committee. During Passover, there are sometimes guys that do not have a place to go to Seder. So we're going to be sending out emails, and if you have an opening on Seder night and you would like to invite a person or two, please give us the information, and we're also going to be sending out people who need a place to go for Seder, because that's one of the great mitzvahs that we can do. No one should be alone on Passover Seder. So we'll be sending everything out. Question?
We should also, if we're going to volunteer a home, is to let them know whether or not it's an Orthodox or whether it's more Reformed service. Because my uncle, God love him, may he rest in peace, used to run a service that at 1 o'clock in the morning, we were wondering when we were going to get to the audio.
Good point. Okay, we will put that down. We'll have little initials to demonstrate that. Okay, we'll be sending that email out. Thank you.
Wait, don't go yet.
Okay, yeah. Also, I'm in the process of getting dates. It's either going to probably be in May or July. We're going to have a Trenton Thunder outing. The Camden River Sharks do not exist anymore, and I think we get a better play of baseball in the AA Trenton Thunder. They're a AA team with the New York Yankees. So it's another email we'll be sending out. We'll be giving options of just tickets or a group and with food as well. So we'll be having all the prices. We're going to try to get the games when the Reading Phillies are there. That should be a little bit more interesting. So it'll probably be in May or in July. Yes?
Rich, do you want to get a sign up for that already, or what?
No, I want to get prices and everything first, this way, and then we can plan. So by next month, I should have all the information from the group administrator there. Okay, thank you.
And here again is another example. I think Rich probably works as many hours as I do, probably 55 hours a week, and he's a former president, and yet he still puts a lot of energy into this club.
About 8 days a week.
Oh, Rich, Yom HaShoah candles? Now that you sat down?
Still standing on steps on his feet.
I think that's the last time I'll go meet you.
When's Yom HaShoah? I forget. Let me check my date. Do you know offhand when Yom HaShoah is? Yom HaShoah is the Holocaust Remembrance Night. Men's Club has been involved for many, many years with that. We give out the yellow Yortzeit candles to the community. We've given out thousands and thousands of candles. We'll be doing it again this year. I'm going to see if I can find the date. Okay, so I have to see. In fact, this coming up is our first meeting when we choose our speakers and things. So we'll be sending letters out. We do buy the candles. We do take donations for the candles. You can buy cases $72, I think now. A half a case is $36, a quarter of a case, whatever. So you can, if you're willing to donate, we'll take anything you want. All the money that we get goes for the cost of the candles, and everything else goes to the Goodwin Holocaust Education Center. So it's a meaningful program. It's a program we all believe in, and we'll be doing it again this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. And in our home, there's the tradition of lighting the candle on Yom HaShoah, mostly for the grandchildren, because, you know, the whole message is never forget. So I invite you to buy candles. Don, you want to report on fantasy football? Sure. One of the activities that Don did, and among other things, the many things that he did as president, was create a fantasy football league, and here's his report.
3 years ago, we started our first fantasy football league. We had 8 guys sign up. We had 8 teams. And this year we concluded with 12 teams and about 17 people involved. I know everybody that's been an owner or a co-owner has had an immense amount of fun and has enjoyed it. And we're certainly looking for others that may be interested as either being an owner. I know Dick has asked if somebody was interested to be a co-owner with him. I would like to give you, we started with a dinner meeting actually in August where we had the draft, a live draft, and the ceremonial breaking of the matzah to start our season. This year it was very, very competitive. I want to give you an idea of the final results, but dropping significantly from previous years. Our person bringing up the basement was Marty.
How did you do the first year?
You won.
I believe he won. But he was bringing up the basement this year. He didn't have to worry about looking over his shoulder to see who was gaining on him. And even though he was in last place, he still won $15. So that's pretty good. Dick Knopf, who was a rookie this year and struggled a little bit to get acclimated, but even Dick came through and won $25. That's a pretty good day. Ed Stein dropped from number 1, I think it was last year, Ed?
Yes.
Had some bad luck, but still came through with a $60 payout. Mike and his son Ben, they were next in line, moving up the chain here with $55 in winnings. Congratulations. And we had another rookie, Mel, who joined for the first time. Actually, we had one of the meetings at Mel's office, and Mel won $55. By the way, there's no cost to the men's club for participation. This is a fee that each of the owners puts in. Our third place finisher, though, winner of $295. Our finance person, second prize. Well, actually, third as far as, well, second in money. Okay. But it was Art Korth, and congratulations for a great season from Art. In second as far as money, I actually came in with my son Todd, $225. But the big thing is, the first place winners were General Mayhem, and this shows that you really don't have to have a great deal of skill. It pays to have a great deal of luck. Bob and Rich, co-owners of General Mayhem, won $440. Guys, come on up.
Are they buying everybody's breakfast?
We depressed the hell out of the other teams.
And they showed that it's good to have a healthy team than having superstars that are injured all the time. So I know it's secondary to your winnings, but we want to make sure we present you with your, and we spare no expense, as you would imagine.
This is the smallest trophy in the world?
So they get their South Jersey Men's Club. Hold it, it's very heavy.
Let me get my microscope.
Two hands.
It's like a wish bone.
If we double a budget for trophies next year, it might be up to a penny.
Just so that you guys know, when we started this first year, Art and I came in dead last. So we ended up first and second this year.
Good job, guys.
Thank you, Don.
But you tell everybody had a lot of fun. Again, if you're interested in getting involved with next year as an owner or co-owner, please let me know. Thank you.
What I didn't hear was that you're donating the money to the men's club.
Everybody's breakfast.
That trophy reminded me, I just had a visit at the urologist. Did you want to make an announcement about this newsletter? I don't know what it means.
Are you trying to tell us that they were about the same size?
Uh-huh.
The people who said that they were interested in helping with the newsletter, we can meet for a couple minutes here at the end of the meeting. Who was it that said they had any interest at all?
In what?
The newsletter.
Good, thank you.
Before I start with Fran's formal introduction, she asked me to remind you, the winners, that she's a former New Jersey tax court judge. And she also suggested to Dave that he may want to edit the tape regarding the winnings.
Like I said, Bob and Rich didn't really win.
It's monopoly money.
In September 1974, about 2 weeks after I started at Rutgers Law School, I met a very bright and attractive fellow law school student, Francine Axelrod. 3 years later, I made the smartest decision of my life, and I proposed to her, and we were married in August 1977. Shortly after we were married, Fran started with the prestigious Camden law firm of Greenberg, Schmerlson, Weinroth, and Edish, where she was in private practice for a number of years. Before our first child was born, Fran opened her own office in Voorhees, New Jersey. Fran was in private practice for about 9 years. She had a general practice involving business, corporate, real estate, family law, and similar types of matters. During her time in private practice, she met a smart, ambitious, up-and-coming young lawyer named Susan Bass Levin. And as a result of Fran's affiliation with Susan then asked Fran to become the first full-time Cherry Hill Township municipal solicitor, where Fran served for 6 years. At the end of her 6 years, she received a call from the governor's office, and she was advised that Governor Florio had nominated her for a New Jersey tax court position. Some of the New Jersey tax court judges serve full-time, they just do tax court work. Some are assigned to other sections of the court system, such as matrimonial or probate, and some tax court judges do a little bit of both. They do some tax court work and some other issues. When Fran's appointment was announced, 3 of the assignment judges from Camden, Burlington, and Gloucester counties began to fight because of her reputation in private practice. They all wanted her in their counties. She wound up serving initially during her judicial career in Woodbury in Gloucester County, where she did tax court work, and she was also assigned to the family part division. After about 7 years in the trial court, she received a call from the Chief Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court, who advised her that she was being promoted to a position on the Superior Court of New Jersey Appellate Division. Citizens in New Jersey are very lucky in the sense that they have an automatic right to appeal any cases that they feel they've been unfairly aggrieved in to the Appellate Division of Superior Court. That's good for our citizens. What's tough is that the judges who serve on the Appellate Division of Superior Court get every case in the court system that's appealed. It's a very, very busy court. Fran retired as a judge of the Appellate Division in 2014. About a year or 10 months after she retired, she received a call from the Chief Justice, who asked her to return as a recall judge. She's now working 3 to 5 days a week in Camden County in the family court division. During her, quote, spare time, end quote, she also teaches English as a second language. She teaches CPR for the American Heart Association. She has been a licensed youth soccer coach. And she also teaches courses at Rutgers University in Camden and also at Rutgers University. It's with great pride that I introduce our speaker today, the Honorable Francine Axelrod, and her topic today will be Judicial Decision-Making, Balancing and Blending Law and Compassion. Judge?
Well, thanks for inviting me here today. A pleasure to see so many friends. And Marty, thank you for the Bialy. It was awesome. So my plan today is to tell you a little bit about the court system, a little bit about how a person becomes a judge, not like making a sausage, maybe a little bit like that, and to answer questions. I'll pretty much talk about anything except ongoing cases and politics. Let me tell you a little bit about the court system. Most of you know about municipal courts. Municipal courts are mostly by municipalities or towns. Some are regional. We've got about 539 in the state. And municipal courts deal primarily with, I would say, motor vehicle cases, speeding, drunk driving, minor assaults, things like that, disputes between neighbors, county and municipal ordinances, such as a property maintenance code. Brandy, you know all about those. And the appeals go to the Superior Court Law Division criminal section. I'll tell you a little bit about the judges that sit there, and many of you may know, for example, Judy Charney is a judge, Jeff Carl is a judge in Camden in Cherry Hill. They are part-time judges, so they are allowed to continue the practice of law and also be judges. Most of them are part-time judges. They have to be members of the New Jersey be lawyers in New Jersey for 5 years before they're appointed. They're appointed by mayors or county government or municipal government, meaning county council, municipal council, or any type of governing body, and they initially get a 3-year term. They can continue to be reappointed. But the difference between the municipal court and the superior or tax court is that they are allowed to continue practicing law. They're allowed to continuing to have an interest in business, they can continue practicing, and they can also be on the bench. They're not allowed to continue in politics, though. Once you do put the robe on, you have to stop participating in politics. We then have the trial court. The trial court is comprised of the tax court, which is a statutory court, which is the equivalent of the constitutional court, which is the superior court, in all aspects of status, of tenure, of appointment, and everything else. And the tax court is comprised of 12 judges who have an additional expertise in tax matters and will handle matters of local property taxes, state taxes, any type of state income taxes, or related state taxes. And the cases are then appealed to the appellate division. They can be essentially, you can sit tax court, you can also sit tax court in other divisions. As Barry said, I was appointed as a tax court judge because at the time I was the municipal solicitor in Cherry Hill, and I was handling everything from neighborhood disputes to the affordable housing litigation in Cherry Hill to overseeing zoning matters and planning matters and the municipal court matters, and really going everything from the sublime to the ridiculous to handling the bonds on Wall Street and all those kind of things. And I had a good amount of experience in tax matters and finance and everything else. So I was appointed by Governor Florio to sit on the tax court. But when I was first appointed, there was also a tremendous need for assistance in the Superior Court. So I sat down in Gloucester County, which was a vicinage comprised, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but where you have, for example, Camden County, you have Burlington County. Gloucester County has a vicinage court where it is Cumberland, Gloucester, and Salem counties. And I sat down there in the Superior Court, and I was the only judge in the state doing Superior Court matters and tax matters together. Kind of an interesting combination. So that The Superior Court is comprised of, you've got about 450 slots. They're not all filled. We've got a tremendous number of vacancies right now because we've got a number of judges who have retired because of the fact that they're able to retire, the fact that changes in pension, changes in having to pay for health insurance, et cetera, and the fact that there have not been appointments. So there are about 450 judges in 21 counties forming 15 vicinages. You've got the Law Division, which is generally civil matters. Civil matters would include everything from landlord-tenant, special civil part, small claims court. You've got criminal division, which everybody knows about. In New Jersey, we no longer have the death penalty. So criminal division would be all kinds of criminal matters, but not capital cases. We've got the family division, which covers everything from child support, adoptions, children in court, which I'm currently doing now, which includes abuse and neglect cases, termination of parental rights. You've got matrimonial, you've got pretty much everything in between. You've got a number of cases with attorneys. You've got a number of cases where people are self-represented. We're seeing a lot more cases where people are self-represented because of the economy. You've also got the Chancery Division. Chancery Division includes, to a large extent, you've got corporate work, but you've also got probate and mortgage foreclosures. Again, a tremendous rise in mortgage foreclosures over the years. You have no juries in family, no juries in Chancery for the most case, and there we do what we call bench trials. The judge is the trier of fact. You listen to all the evidence, you make the rulings, and you call the shot. In criminal and civil, you have a choice, depending upon the type of case or otherwise. You can request a jury or you can request a bench trial. All of the cases in the court system, be it the tax court or be it the Superior Court, you have an appeal of right to go to the appellate division. Stay close to the mic. Okay. Thought I talked loudly enough. And what that means is essentially whether your case has merit or doesn't have merit. You as a litigant, if you lose, you've got the right to file the appeal to the appellate division. As compared with the Supreme Court, and I'll talk about that in a second. In the appellate division is comprised of 32 judges. It's a statewide court, and it's 8 panels, and it's an intermediary appellate court. We review, or when I sat on the appellate division, we review the decisions of the trial court, the tax court, administrative agencies, and the executive branch. We also review the decisions of the municipal court. If you were to challenge a drunk driving case, for example, that you've lost, you appeal it to the Superior Court. If you lost, you can appeal it to the appellate division. It's on the record below. So in the appellate division, we don't retry the cases. We would hear arguments by the attorneys. Basically, the standard is to show that there was an error below. There was an error in the trial. There was, the judge got it wrong, misapplied the law, misapplied the facts, or there was some constitutional error that should require some type of reversal or a remand. You can argue the case before the appellate division, or you can just submit it on the papers. And to a large extent, the appellate division is the court of last resort because the Supreme Court gets to pick if they want to let a case come up. The Supreme Court is comprised of the Chief Justice, who's Stuart Rabner, and 6 associate justices, 2 of whom are local guys from South Jersey. We've got Lee Solomon, who many of you know, and Faustino Fernandez-Venez, who I have trouble remembering his name because I've always called him Fuzzy from the time he was a law clerk years ago, or we affectionately called him Judge Fuzzy now, or Justice Fuzzy. They hear appeals from the appellate division only if there's a dissent. And when we were in the appellate division, we worked very hard to have a consensus, even if you horse traded a little bit, so as not to have a dissent. Or if they decide to grant certification or to allow an appeal. In other words, something public policy, a hot issue they want to decide, or if the appellate division has varying panels deciding differently. So they decide if they want to take the case. They take about 20% of the cases. As compared with the municipal court, the Supreme Court, Superior Court, and the tax court judges are nominated by the governor, confirmed by the Senate for a 7-year period. If you're renominated and you pass a test, and it has always been, or for the most part has always been, unless you do something egregious. It was never a political decision. It was, unless you did something egregious of moral turpitude or otherwise, you would get reconfirmed. You would then receive tenure, and you could stay on the bench until age 70, constitutionally till age 70. At age 70, you would automatically be kicked out the door. You would be retired. You could retire earlier. I did retire earlier. And the rule of thumb was essentially you could go out at age 65. If you had 15 years on the bench, you could go out at age 60 if you had 20 years on the bench. I came on at age 40, and I went off at age 60, retired. So you can be recalled until age 80. You're prohibited from practicing law. Get on the bench. First of all, no political involvement whatsoever. You're allowed to vote. That's it. Barry can't even put a political sign on our yard, even though he owns a house too, because it's an appearance of impropriety. It's an appearance that somebody is going to think that I'm politically involved. There are very, very strict requirements in New Jersey. Sometimes they hamstring you to the point where it's incredibly isolating. When Susan Bass-Levin, who is a dear friend of mine, as Barry said, we met when we were young attorneys, and we're very dear friends. When I went on the bench and she then became a mayor again for a subsequent term, I was allowed to swear her. I had to get permission from the Supreme Court Chief Justice. I was allowed to go there, swear her in, and run out that door immediately. I couldn't have a drink of water because, God forbid, it was going to be an appearance of politics, or that water would have been paid for from some PAC or something. When she became the DCA commissioner, appointed by Governor Corzine, again, I had to get permission from the Chief Justice, and I was allowed to go to Trenton to swear her in because that's a governmental position. It's not a political position. I couldn't stay there, couldn't stay for the party afterwards, even though, again, it wasn't political. It was a government position, but somehow it might be perceived as political. Certain parties, and I don't say political parties, social gatherings, I can't go to because there might be senators there might be Congress people there. Somebody might perceive it as something. Compare that, of course, to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and again, I'm not passing judgment, I'm just saying it's a different standard. There, the judges are exclusively elected. It's something different. There's politics involved. A judge can say, I support the NRA, I, am a prosecutor, I'm in favor of this. Of course, that's not something we're allowed to do. That's not to say that we were not politically involved as lawyers. Many of us were. But once you get on the bench, you cannot be politically involved in any way, shape, or form. And again, we get on the bench and you put those blinders on and you are fair and impartial, and the public also has to believe that you are fair and impartial, that you are not going to be getting contributions from someone, you are not going to be affiliated from someone, you're not going to be going to parties at the prosecutor's office, and you're not going to be hanging at the bar with the defense counsel. That doesn't mean, again, when I go to bar association functions, which I do all the time, I don't hang with different lawyers, because I do. Barry Chatsanoff appears before me. Doesn't mean I can't give him a hug when I walked in and saw him today. But because it is a small bar and it is a professional bar and a wonderful bar that we have, and I'm saying bar association as opposed to bar, but that's how we practice in the county. But interestingly, though, when I talk about politics also, the way our system has worked in New Jersey, and again, this is not written down. This one is essentially an unwritten rule that we've had for the most part, was the judges on the Supreme Court and on the Superior Court. It was set up, you'd have half Republicans and half Democrats for the most part, and to keep a political balance on the courts, just again for an appearance. So it wasn't, so if someone walks in and they don't want to feel somehow that they were being, that somehow it was stacked. Although most people, I don't even know the affiliation of half the judges on the bench, to tell you the truth, because it's not something we're concerned with. Although I will tell you something otherwise. But, and as a judge retires, and if that judge is a Democrat, the plan has always been that that's a Democrat spot, and they seek to replace that judge with a Democrat. And a Republican spot, the same thing. Again, to keep that balance. Hasn't, the same thing with the Supreme Court, hasn't always worked out that way. But again, that's been the unwritten rule. In the appellate division, if we had a case that was a and I was a presiding judge of the appellate division for the last 7 years on my 15 years on the appellate division. If we had a case which is a high-profile case, politically profile, I made a point of the 3 judges that would sit on it. I actually checked to see political affiliation, to see that we had a split panel, that we would, because I didn't want there to be, not that we're going to decide a certain way, but again, you don't want the appearance. You don't want someone to feel that, oh, they decided that way because they're Democrats or they're Republicans or otherwise. So it is interesting because, again, we can't be political, but you do, again, want that appearance with the public, that you still have that balance in the courts. Federal judges are appointed by the president for life, advise and consent of the Senate. They have no mandatory requirement age. And interestingly, they're entitled to compensation if they teach. They can't engage in political activities, but they're entitled to compensation if they teach. State court judges, we all teach for free. We're not entitled to compensation. We're not entitled to outside employment. We're not, so many of us, we teach, we do it because we love doing it. I teach trial ad at Rutgers, trial advocacy at Rutgers, Wednesday nights. I do it on my own time. I do, a number of the judges do that. We're not allowed to get paid. Additionally, weddings, interesting thing. By statute, judges can perform weddings. When we're in the courthouse, we do some kinds of wedding duty. Wedding duty is a civic duty. If somebody wants to get married, they can go to a mayor. If they want a civil ceremony, they can go to a mayor. A mayor can perform a wedding. They can have a judge perform it. They can opt to go and just have a kind of quick wedding. In a courthouse, we have wedding duty, where they can go in and you'll kind of perform a quick one. I've performed weddings for close friends. In fact, I performed a wedding for our son, which was wonderful, absolutely incredible. I told him I got the last word. He didn't get to pick it. He didn't get to look at it ahead of time. It was awesome. But we get to do that. Cannot get paid. You're very... when I've done it for people and done it for friends and otherwise, I mean, my comment is, A, I'm not allowed to. If you want to do something, give a donation to your favorite charity. But I'm not allowed to, but it's my pleasure anyway, but we're not allowed to do that. So we can't have any outside employment. We can't participate in anything that would even be deemed related to fundraising. I can't have my name on a board. I can't be downstairs making phone calls for Super Sunday. I can't as a judge, because again, it's a perception. It might be a perception. She's leaning on somebody and using her judicial title to get someone to contribute or something like that. So we have very, very strict rules. Sometimes it inures to your benefit because you don't have to go to those chicken dinners anymore and write those checks for the contributions. But sometimes it is a little isolating. I have some interesting stories I just want to tell you about the topic, balancing and blending law and compassion. My first day on the bench, sitting family court. Visitation of a horse on Mother's Day. Okay? My first thought, wait a minute. I went to law school, practiced law for 15 years. What am I doing here? What a waste of time. Why am I here? Then I thought to myself, you know something? This is real life. This is a human being in front of me. This is a person with a problem. And this list that I had was a family dissolution list, which was a list where you have a lot of self-represented people. There are people who aren't married who have family issues involving children and otherwise. They come to the courts. You are not just a judge. You're a social worker, you're a rabbi, you're a drug counselor, you are a listener, you are a kindergarten teacher sometimes, you're a mother sometimes, not just a judge. You're trying to help people. You're trying to do justice. And sometimes we would say it's not justiciable. It's not something which necessarily is written in the law what you can do. But you've got people in front of you who need help. And sometimes you can do something. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just kind of say, can't do anything, I'm sorry. But sometimes you can do something. And I believe that we've got an obligation to do it. So what did I do? After my first impression of, oh, what am I doing here? Was I can do something, and I should be doing something. So, it was a woman and a man. They were splitting up. They didn't have kids. She wanted to visit with this horse on Mother's Day. They didn't have kids. It meant something to her. The horse didn't know it was Mother's Day. She knew it was Mother's Day. I didn't have any authority to do anything legally. So what did I do? I looked at the guy and I said to him, there's no domestic violence between either of you, is there? No. You just broke up recently, right? Can we work this out? I kind of appealed to him, his compassion. Could we work this out? Would you mind? What time would work? Would you mind? I talked to him like a human being. Would you mind if she came over 15 minutes, 20 minutes that day? If you want to be there, you could be there. You want to wait in the house, you could wait in the house. Would you mind? And he kind of looked at me and he goes, no. I said, that's really nice of you. Okay, we'll do it just for this year. You guys just broke up. And I turned to her and I said, can't do it all the time. It's just for this year. You guys have to realize you got to move on. You promised me you're not going to get in a confrontation with him, anything else. And I talked to them like human beings. So, you sure you're okay? And this is what happened. I didn't have any legal basis to do that whatsoever. And the guy could have said to me, no, I'm not going to do it. And I would have said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So that was kind of, and I entered an order. I entered an order and I had them both sign it and I thanked them for working with me. And that was my first day on the bench. 22 years later, I did it, 21 years later before I retired. But every day I learned. I mean, that's the kind, they taught me a lot, they really did. There were days where I couldn't do things. I had one day where, one of them is fighting, they want the kid to be in the major league, and the mom wants him to be in the minor leagues. Because dad lives here in this town, mom and wants to coach in the majors, and mom lives in the minors and wants to be in that town. It had nothing to do with his ability. It had to do with where the boys should play ball and the fight between the mom and the dad. And I kind of threw up my hands and said, unless you want to have him come in, give me a bat and I can hit to him, and you can give me a glove and I can throw to him, and I could decide whether he should be in the major or the minors. I mean, that was kind of a glib comment, but I mean, you can't help with those kind of things. But be that as it may, it's not TV. It's not Judge Judy. Okay, and no disrespect for Judge Judy. I've met Judge Judy at National Association of Women Judges meetings, and she's a lovely woman. She really is, and she was a really fabulous judge. But yeah, she parlayed it into something. But this is what people want to see on television. They want to see people getting abused. They want to see they want to see a judge yelling at someone. You're really stupid. You're really, yes, there are times I'd love to say that, but that's not what we do. We treat people with respect. We want to be treated with respect. The office should be treated with respect, and I treat people with respect. As judges, we treat people with respect. All of you treat your clients, your friends, your patients with respect, except Doc Moskowitz is a little abusive to me when I go in there. But hey, other than that, yeah, but hey, he loves to put those drops in my eyes. But hey, but you don't gain, it's not television, but you don't gain anything. You treat everyone that comes in your courtroom with respect, even when they don't always treat us with respect, because again, it's for the office. But that doesn't mean that I don't have to make findings of fact. I have to make findings of fact. I have to make credibility assessments. You just learn ways to do it. You don't say, you're a liar. You find ways to do it, such as, I've heard your testimony and I've assessed your demeanor, and I'm not convinced that the statements you made were truthful insofar as A, B, and C, or things like that. Sometimes it's hard. I've been doing termination of parental rights cases recently, back on recall, and they're brutal. I'll tell you, they are brutal. They eat your kishkas out. They really do. But you look at it and you say, if the children have a chance to be adopted and have a better life, you got to do it. You got to suck it up and you got to do it. Plus, you've given a lot of the parents a lot of opportunities along the way to rehabilitate themselves. Someone's got to do it. You got to step and do it. But you have to make findings, and I had one, and the woman got very abusive to me in the courtroom. She's got issues, and in a nice way, I looked her in the eye and I said, I'm not saying these things about you to be disrespectful. I have to make these findings, you know, just like the psychologist had to make certain findings about you. I have to make these findings. So you try to couch them certain ways, but you have to. A witness says, you know, the light was red, and you're making a finding in a case, and you find that that witness was not believable, you've got to make that finding on the record. You just do it in a way more respectfully. I also want to tell you about what a mentor judge of blessed memory used to call a writ of Rahmanis. Affectionately called a writ of Rahmanis, a writ of compassion. There are times where you got a close case, and no harm, no foul. Sometimes you can do a writ of Rahmanis. You can do that writ of compassion. You can make that decision that helps somebody out. It's not exactly the law, but there's enough equity in there that you can make that decision. And sometimes even you have the attorney who is making the argument to you like this. And Your Honor, I understand that the adversary, you don't really have the ability to reduce the child support by $10 as was requested. Wink, 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 which doesn't show up on the record, right, Barry? You know, in other words, cut the guy a break. You know, we understand he's trying to get a job, he's doing his best, and although legally he hasn't quite sustained his burden because he doesn't know how to present these different things, it's not hurting anybody. You give the writ of Rahmanis. But there are times our hands are tied. No matter how heart-wrenching it is, you could have a plaintiff who comes into court who's, you know, hit by a Mack truck, who's rear-ended by a Mack truck, who's paraplegic, who there is no legal or equitable excuse for filing outside of the 2-year period to file in court. And there's nothing, and the defense files a motion to dismiss the complaint, and your heart goes out to this plaintiff, and you bang the gavel and you say, case dismissed. There's nothing you can do. You're obligated to follow the law because all people are entitled to expect to be governed by uniform laws. And that's how we have to run our court system. And if any of you have been jurors, you know the difficulty. You balance the evidence, you listen to the law, you have your own gut feelings, you have your own implicit prejudices. And I'm not saying prejudice is bad, just general prejudices, biases, implicit biases. We're all human. So think of Lady Justice. Think of the symbol of justice. We've got the statue. We've got blindfolded, which is objectivity. She's holding, left hand, right hand, I can't remember which. You got the scales weighing the evidence. You weigh the evidence on your own merit. You've got the double-edged sword, points down. So it symbolizes the power of reason that can be wielded. You've got, it represents punishment. So you're weighing all these things. Do I punish? Do I not punish? What kind of punishment do I give? I'm blind. I'm objective. I'm weighing everything. You know, we're not always right. As a judge, I try to be as prepared as I can be. I try to dispense justice as fairly and expeditiously. We're not God. We try our best. That's the best we can be. And best we can do, we try to be respectful to people. And that's a balancing act that I perform on a regular basis as a judge. And I thank you for your time. So questions?
I've been a juror a couple of times, or I've been called for jury duty a couple of times.
Okay.
And one thing I noticed, when you go in before the judge, it's a bunch of people in addition to the 12 people that are selected. And the judge gives out instructions, lengthy instructions. Somebody gets challenged, he gets off, somebody else from the jury pool gets put in there.
Right?
The judge then goes through the same rigmarole. Well, I would think a judge would get very tired of saying that every single time one person's kicked off and somebody gets put on. Why can't the judge say, everybody here's got to listen?
Well,
One time.
Interestingly, there's a lot of different ways about picking juries. And the case law, we look at the case law all the time. And unfortunately, I can't say unfortunately, but what happens is when someone appeals a case, they argue things like, well, that juror wasn't paying attention because they were sitting back in the panel. They were sitting back in the audience. And how do we know they were paying attention? How do we know they were listening to what the judge was saying? But we do know for a fact, once they get up to be questioned, then they pay attention. So cases have actually gotten reversed because of that. So there's a litany of really specific rules that have to be followed. And yeah, they're boring. And yeah, they're repetitive. And in fact now, and it's ever changing, it's constantly evolving. In fact now, actually jurors can take certain evidence into the deliberating room. They can actually take the jury charge into the deliberating room now, which is brand new in civil. They're going to be able to do it in criminal because, again, that jury charge, which is so complicated, and we query whether jurors really understand half of it, you can actually take it in with you. Some judges do it a little differently. Some judges will not read the whole thing. They'll just read parts and then just read more as people get in. But it actually, there have been challenges where somebody has said, well, if you're sitting back there, you're not paying attention, and you only pay attention when you come up. But it does. It gets boring. It gets boring for the jurors back there, and it gets boring for the judge. Very repetitive. Yeah, very repetitive. Yes?
One of the issues that came up while the governor, our current governor, was about judges and pensions, and also when you retire. Are you also affected by the public school teachers and that? Are you, because I think it was put on a vote for us, or you had something happen, but can you fill me in on that? Because I think judges get pretty good pensions. That's why she retired.
Let me put it this way. Suffice it to say that one of the reasons I retired is because of that. What happened was I had my 20 years in, and my pension would vest at that point. And what happened was there was then going to be a significant contribution. And we were already, as judges, back from 93, I was paying towards, we paid towards pension, we paid towards medical. We always paid towards medical. But reason many of us decided to leave early, meaning before age 70, after we had our time in, was because of the uncertainty of what was happening with this governor. And I didn't want to take a chance. And my pension had vested, and I was going to then have to pay a significant portion to medical, increasing every year, and there was a possibility that things were going to happen with my pension. So I chose to retire. But
have a chance to vote on this or something?
no, but there's a lot of, I really can't go into that more. And there's still litigation going on. But there are a number of judges, excellent judges, who are retiring, but I'm saying earlier, before age 70, because of that.
In the interest of time, we'll take 2 more questions.
Why can't there be a pool of professional jurors?
You're entitled to a jury by your peers, okay? Your peers should represent all walks of life, okay? I mean, I laugh because my grandmother used to sit on juries, which because she had nothing better to do. And I surely would not have wanted my grandmother, blessed memory, to have been sitting on a jury because she wasn't paying attention or anything else. But, I mean, really, she just thought it was fun, it was social, and I think they paid her $3 at that point. But you're supposed to have a jury of your peers. And you're supposed, I mean, in a perfect world. And so a group of professional jurors, you're going to get the same group all the time. You want to be reaching out into the community and getting all different kinds of people. You want diverse people. You want old, you want young, you want rich, you want poor. You want a jury of your peers.
One more question? Marty?
In the state of New Jersey, is there a reason why there isn't a movement on essentially, in order to reduce the backlog of civil cases, to essentially say, if the plaintiff loses, he pays court costs?
There's statutes and there's court rules. In certain circumstances, plaintiffs have to pay counsel fees and costs in certain circumstances, but it's limited. It's limited. There is equal access to the courts by everyone. Some of these decisions would have to be made legislatively of what's going to happen. I mean, in certain circumstances, costs are paid by the other side. But when you're saying court costs, you're talking more in terms of counsel. Well, I don't get paid.
Okay.
I don't get anything. I mean,
Building, whatever.
attorney's fees is really what you're talking about. I mean, the court costs are fairly nominal. But there's a whole, a lot of this is statutory and otherwise, and that's got to come from the legislature.
Well, we're not going to take any more because of time. I want to thank our judge.
Thank you.
We have two traditions. I guess we better stand
Well,
out
the first
here.
tradition was I got that great biology.
We have two other traditions. So if you'll step over here.
Make sure she's got that gavel in her hand.
Yeah.
And I never use a gavel because I was told if you have to bang that gavel, you've lost control of the courtroom. Like if you have to yell at your kids, you've lost control.
So this is a certificate of appreciation for your participation today.
Okay. One more.
Okay. And we have one other tradition. You're going to help select the 50-50. And to make sure that there's a conflict of interest, you can't take his...
I'm not taking Barry Klein either. That one, okay. Read it?
Sure, go ahead.
745813. Okay.